Shalom, everybody. We have some interesting topics to cover today, which really take the Rambam in a new direction as far as the principles of faith, because up till now we've really been talking about who God is, what God is, the Torah, the eternal nature of the Torah, and these types of subjects. However, now we're going to talk about how God impacts in the world. So I want to kind of package together the 10th and the 11th of the principles of faith, which really go into that in great depth. And it's interesting how Maimonides puts together the whole package of God's interaction in this world in these two principles. They are as follows. Number 10 is the belief in God's omniscience and providence. Those are two heavy pills to swallow. One is about God being everywhere, and the other one is about God being intimately involved and directing different aspects, many aspects, if not all aspects, of our lives and of what goes on in the world here. And then the 11th is the belief in divine reward and retribution, which is an indication that there's some free choice involved in all this. So here we get into the issue of how is it that God is everywhere, God's omniscient, God is providing divine providence, but nevertheless, there is reward and punishment. If God is running the show and we're just a bunch of puppets in the string, then what's the reward and punishment for? We're not really responsible for our actions because everything's directed from on high. So we have to understand what is the role of free choice, and what is Rambam getting at over here by saying that God is omniscient and has control over the providence of the world. So just to go into that a little bit, and of course in these short classes it's impossible to really take all these subjects and fully deal with them, but I want to touch on enough to perhaps whet your appetite a little bit. God being omniscient basically means that Hashem Echad, God is one, that everything is part of God's oneness, that everything that exists has to have a spiritual life vitality flowing into it to bring it into being, that everything is created ex nihilo, something from nothing, that all matter, all the universe, everything, as we've discussed before, is really an expression and a creation of God. So as a result, it's all really part of that oneness that is God. We don't see it necessarily, and there's a reason why we don't see it, because if we saw it, we would be like everything else in the creation besides human beings, which are basically programmed to run a certain way and have no free choice. Because, or in order that we should have free choice, it has to be hidden from us, otherwise there's no challenge involved. There's no way of overcoming anything negative to be able to choose to connect to God or choose to believe in God. So God's omniscience is really part of the whole program, and it's a basic foundation for all of us. Then God's providence, that God is intimately involved in the aspects of our lives. That God is really directing the show and has a plan, a long-term plan for the things that are happening in the world around us, for the things that are happening in our community, for the things that are happening in our lives. Now, sometimes negative things happen, as we all know and as we all witness on a regular basis. But God isn't making any promise that this is all going to be a rose garden. If we put everything on a scale, I would guess that the negative would be outweighed by the positive. Unfortunately, though, the negative so outweighs in terms of the tension, in terms of the pain, in terms of the difficulty that we have as far as coming to grips with why that negativity can sometimes be so negative and even evil and even terrible. So that is the part that is most difficult for us as human beings, since we have a very limited view, of course, of things that are happening in the here and the now, that we want them to be good and we hope for them to be good, but we don't see where they're headed to and why they are part of a process and why they have to be so negative in order to be able to lead up to something so positive. And that's something only in the purview of an infinite God who is able to understand why things have to go through what they go through. Fires in forests go through a purification process. They're terrible at the time, but they bring to a rebirth of the fire itself. There are so many situations in life that we ourselves experience that have negative implications at the time that they're happening, but eventually we are able to see some good in them or how they led up to something good. You know, it's a very hard test at the time that it's happening. Nevertheless, part of betachon, part of trust, part of belief is to know that in the long run, gam zu l'tova, everything does happen for the good, and God is not out there just to punish us for the sake of punishing, but to the contrary, that he's providing divine providence on a very detailed level, so much so that, as a Baal Shem Tov said, even a leaf falling from a tree, the path it takes, the timing of its fall, all are part of divine providence. And not only that, but the Baal Shem Tov goes on to say something crazy, revolutionary. He says that falling of the leaf is really part of the fulfillment of the purpose of the creation of the world itself. Unbelievable. Why is that? How could that be? Because God is so intimately involved in this world, has all the pieces together, knows the orchestra, knows how each piece has to play its part in order to be able to contribute to the whole, as far as how everything is going to come together for the ultimate good. And each cell, every molecule, what its purpose is in creation and what it has to go through in order to be able to fulfill its purpose. Now, I know that's a big leap of faith, and I know it's a hard thing to swallow. But when we look at life and we realize, really, what do we have free choice about? Very little in life. Our sperm and egg that made us, we have no choice about. Our parents, who they are, what influence they had on us, how they brought us up, no choice at all. They say that 95% of your personality is already determined by the time you're 5 years old, how you're going to react to things, how you're going to handle situations, how you're going to face controversy or obstacles or opportunities in life. And then there's so many other situations in life that really are influenced to a great degree by circumstances in our life. So what do we really have free choice about? We have free choice really in what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. Free choice about our attitude in life, how we handle things and how we look at them, how we decide to take a negative or a positive approach to resolving challenges that we face. That's really where our free choice is at, because so much of our lives, who we ended up marrying, what house we're going to buy, what kind of job we have, what talents we have, so many of these things are really not part of our free choice. Even if you put in front of me an apple pie and a strawberry shortcake, that's not necessarily a free choice either, because for all practical purposes, my DNA is already programmed in my tongue to tell me which one I like and which one I don't like. When we bend our will, though, when we know that something comes naturally to us, and we change our mind, we choose to do something different than what our natural inclination is, because we know it's the right choice. For instance, if I like one cake over another, but one is dietetic and I really should eat the dietetic one, then that's free choice. Free choice is a whole topic of its own, which we'll get into sometime. But in the meantime, God does have that omniscient presence and also does provide ongoing providence to be able to bring the world to a higher state. And we've seen how over the course of time, through Jews, non-Jews as well, choosing the right path, choosing good over evil, choosing light over darkness, choosing to be good and to spread light and happiness and kindness. These choices have led to a better world. Tikkun Olam. What is Tikkun Olam? Tikkun Olam is fixing the world. It's fixing the world outside of us. It's fixing the world in a commercial sense, in a industrial sense, in a business sense, but also fixing the world in a community sense, fixing the world in a very personal sense, in a family sense. And in addition, fixing the world internally, our internal world, the world inside of us, the emotions we have, the negativity that we carry around with us. Those are also things in the world that need to be fixed. And those are also things that are all there from top to bottom as a result of providence that God presents to us on a daily basis. So that providence is really providing the scenery, the stage for us to be able to exercise our free choice and make sure that we be able to rise to the occasion, whatever the obstacle, whatever the opportunity, whatever the challenge or the situation might be. So the free choice is always there, even though the circumstances of our life might not totally be in our control, but our reaction to those circumstances is very much in our control. As the Torah says, "Ubartchata bein tov bein ra." You should choose between what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is evil. The Rebbe says an interesting, amazing explanation on this sentence. "Ubartchata bein tov bein ra bein chaim lamovis." The sentence goes on to say that you should also choose between life and death. The Rebbe asks the question, why does the Torah in Deuteronomy say that you should choose between life and death? What kind of choice is that? And then it concludes, you should choose life. What kind of advice is that? Of course you should choose life. But the Rebbe says the following, put this in your pipe and smoke it, or else put your seatbelt on, because you're going to need this for many situations in the future, and it'll help you in your life. And it could take a lifetime of work to be able to really internalize this one lesson. The Rebbe says, "Ubachata b'chaim," you should choose life, meaning you should live life in a way of choosing. Ubachata b'chaim. Choose life. Live your life choosing to do the right thing. Live your life choosing to bring light into darkness. Live your life always choosing right over wrong. And when a person does that, they are in fact taking the divine providence that is presented to them, the custom-made package that God gives to them every day and every minute, every second of our lives, and transforms it into bachata b'chaim, into choosing a positive life. So looks like we used up our time already for today. So tomorrow, Monday, we'll get back to the 11th principle of faith, about what is all this concerning reward and punishment. What does the Torah teach? Why is Maimonides put it into the 13 principles of faith? Take care. Have a great Shabbos and a great weekend. Look forward to seeing you soon.